My name is Hannah, and I am a 21-year-old medical student. This week is probably the hardest of my life. It is exam week, and I feel like my brain is on fire. Right now, I am sitting at my desk in the dorm, surrounded by books, papers, and a big cup of coffee. I can't even see the table anymore because it's covered with notes about anatomy and biochemistry. Studying medicine is my dream, but sometimes it feels like too much. I have 2 big exams coming up, both on the same day. Anatomy is all about bones, muscles, and organs. There are so many names to remember, and they all sound the same. Biochemistry is no easier. It's full of chemical reactions, formulas, and diagrams that make my head spin. I try to stay calm, but the pressure is intense. My phone buzzes on the table, and I look at it. It's a message from one of my classmates asking if I can explain something about enzymes. I want to help, but I feel like I don't even understand it myself. Helping others is important to me, but right now, I'm not sure if I have the time or energy. The room is quiet except for the ticking clock on the wall. Every tick reminds me that the exams are getting closer. I take a deep breath and sip my coffee, hoping it will give me some energy. Outside, I can hear people laughing. Some of my friends are probably taking a break, but I don't feel like I can stop. There's so much to do, and time is running out. I wonder if I'm the only one feeling this way. Does everyone else have it all under control? I pick up my pen and start writing again. Maybe if I work a little harder, I can make it through this week. One step at a time, I tell myself. Later that evening, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was an invitation to join a study group in the library. I hesitated for a moment. Studying alone felt safer, but maybe working with others could help. I packed my notes and headed to the library, still unsure if it was the right choice. The study group was a mix of personalities. There was Lucas, the class clown who could never stop joking. Then there was Mia, always organized, with perfect notes and color-coded flashcards. Finally, Sam arrived late, as usual, looking tired but ready to work. We sat at a large table under the bright library lights. At first, everyone tried to focus. Mia explained some anatomy diagrams, Lucas made a silly comment about bones dancing, and Sam asked questions about enzymes. It was chaotic but also comforting to know that everyone was struggling too. As the evening went on, things became less serious. Lucas made everyone laugh with his impression of our professor. Mia tried to stay on track, but even she ended up laughing. I found myself smiling more than I had in days. It felt good to share the stress with others, even if we were not making much progress. Still, I worried. Was I wasting precious time? Every minute in that group felt like a gamble. But then, someone asked a question I had not thought about. It was on a topic I had ignored, thinking it would not be on the exam. I quickly opened my book and took notes. Maybe this study group was not a waste after all. When the library closed, we packed up and left together. Walking back to the dorms, I felt a little lighter. The exams were still waiting for me, but I was not facing them alone. Lucas joked about starting a new career as a comedian if he failed, and we all laughed. For the first time that week, I felt like everything might be okay. The next morning, I woke up early, feeling nervous but determined. Today was the day of the exams. I double-checked my bag to make sure I had everything: pens, my ID, and a small bottle of water. I left the dorm and headed to the bus stop. The air was chilly, and I could see a few other students waiting, their faces looking just as tired and stressed as mine. When the bus finally arrived, I took a seat by the window and pulled out my notes for a last-minute review. I read about the different types of joints in the body and tried to memorize one more chemical formula. I thought everything was going fine until the bus suddenly stopped. The driver turned around and announced that the bus had broken down. My heart sank. I looked at my watch and realized I was running out of time. Some students started calling for taxis, but I decided to walk. The campus was about 20 minutes away by foot, and I knew I had to hurry. I grabbed my bag and started walking quickly, almost running. My thoughts were racing as fast as my feet. What if I was late? What if they didn't let me take the exam? The questions in my head felt heavier than my bag. As I walked, I tried to calm myself by reviewing information in my mind. The names of bones, the steps in chemical reactions. I repeated them like a mantra. The fresh air and movement helped me focus, even though I was still worried. Finally, I reached the campus gates. My legs were tired, and I was out of breath, but I didn't stop. I rushed to the exam room, opened the door, and saw everyone already seated. The professor looked at me but didn't say anything. I quickly found my seat and opened the test paper. The first question stared back at me. It was something we had discussed in the study group. I took a deep breath and smiled a little. Maybe I could do this after all. I looked at the first question again, trying to calm my nerves. It was about the structure of the human spine, something Lucas had joked about during the study group. I smiled to myself, remembering his silly dance. I wrote my answer carefully, checking every detail. The next few questions felt like a roller coaster. Some were straightforward, and I could answer them quickly. Others made me pause, my mind blank. One question about enzymes left me staring at the page for what felt like forever. I closed my eyes for a moment and tried to picture me as perfect flashcards. Slowly, the information came back to me. The exam room was silent except for the sound of pens on paper. Occasionally, I heard someone cough or shuffle in their seat. Time seemed to move both too fast and too slow. I glanced at the clock on the wall. Half of the exam time was already gone. One question really surprised me. It asked about a chemical process we had not studied in detail. I felt panic creeping in but reminded myself to stay calm. I wrote down everything I knew, even if it was not perfect. Maybe the professor would give me some points for effort. By the time I reached the last question, my hand was cramping from writing so much. This one was a diagram I needed to label. I focused on remembering the labels we practiced in the study group. Slowly, I filled in the blanks, one by one. When the professor announced that time was up, I felt both relief and worry. I put down my pen and handed in my paper, trying not to overthink my answers. Walking out of the room, I saw a few classmates waiting outside. Their faces showed the same mix of exhaustion and hope. As I left the building, I thought about how much I had prepared and how hard the test was. I did my best, I told myself. Now it was out of my hands. The fresh air outside felt like a small reward after such an intense morning. After the exam, I walked to the cafeteria to get some coffee and clear my mind. My body felt heavy, and my brain was tired, but at least the hardest part was over. I sat by the window, watching students come and go, some laughing, others looking as tired as I felt. As I sipped my coffee, I thought about the past week. It had been stressful, no doubt, but also full of lessons. I realized that joining the study group, even with all its chaos, had helped me more than I expected. Lucas's jokes made me remember things during the test, Mia's flashcards were in my mind when I needed them, and Sam's questions pushed me to study topics I might have skipped. I smiled, thinking about how each of us had helped the other, even in small ways. Sometimes, learning is not just about books and notes. It is about sharing ideas, asking questions, and even laughing when everything feels too hard. As I finished my coffee, I thought about what I could do better next time. I decided to make my own flashcards for the next exam and maybe organize a study group myself. I wanted to create a space where we could all learn and support each other, no matter how difficult the subject. To everyone reading this, I have a small challenge for you. Think about the last time you faced a stressful situation. How did you handle it? What helped you get through it? Share your story in the comments. Maybe your experience can inspire someone else. Remember, it is okay to feel overwhelmed. We are all learning, not just in school, but in life. Every test, every challenge, is a chance to grow. As I walked back to my dorm, I felt lighter. The week was not over, and I knew there were more challenges ahead, but I felt ready to face them. After all, if I could survive this exam, I could survive anything.